My name's Tom Kerlin. I've been writing cowboy poetry for more than 20 years and been performing over 10. Cowboy poet gets his inspiration wherever he can, and this comes from a friend of mine who has since passed away, but he was a confirmed bachelor. I call this poem a quality wife for Pete. Pete and Slim had been the best friends. They'd been together since Lord knows when. They'd worked the big ranches and the small ones too, hired on as a team, worked together as a crew. They spent their life without too much care. Heck, there was a time they roped a grizzly bear, then spent about an hour trying to turn it loose. And many's the time they drank too much cactus juice. And let me tell you, they loved the girls. They'd get dressed up some weekend, take them out for a whirl, a weekend, a party, and a dancing and drinks. But when the weekend's over, it was, well, goodbye and thanks. But when Pete met Sue, he was totally overcome by love. For weeks on end, Sue was all Pete could talk of. He wanted nothing more than to make her his bride, while Slim stayed committed to the single side. Oh, Slim liked women, of that there was no doubt, but he looked at marriage and saw no way out. It was a contract, a promise, till death do you part. And Slim, well, he weren't about to give no woman his heart. Slim was a cowboy. He rode for the brand and stood by his word. So taking a woman for life, that was just totally absurd. But Pete married Sue and committed for life, and he was a devoted husband who loved his new wife. Still no woman could come between these two friends, take more than a marriage to bring this friendship to an end. So a few years passed and they still worked together, doctoring the herds and working together. And one day on the prairie while they were rounding up strays, Slim said, "Pete, I noticed you ain't been yourself these days." That's when Pete picked up his reins and pulled up his horse and said, "Slim, I think I'm gonna have to get me a divorce." Well, Slim noticed his friend was desperately fighting back tears. "You know," said Pete, "Sue hadn't said a word to me in almost 2 years." Well, Slim pondered the idea of a woman not speaking. He thought of himself and what he had been seeking. He thought of his friend, considered his plight, chose his words carefully, wanted them to come out just right. "You know," said Slim, "you ought to think about this and maybe change your mind, because a woman with that quality is really hard to find."